Hi guys, thanks for joining me. This is the third and final tutorial in the little 3 succulent set, and for this one we're going to be using the rose template set, and this is the petal and this is the leaf. For this particular project I'm going to be using our evergreen coloured wool, and for this template I've weighed out 0.5 grams, and for this template I've weighed out 0.2 grams. So we're going to quickly run through how to make or how to fill each of these templates, and then we're going to do the assembly for the final plant. So I'm going to begin with the larger of the two templates. So this is the petal template. I am working on my foam surface with my flat mat and felt topper, and I've got my favourite needles. I've got my 40 spiral and I've got my 38 spiral. What I'm going to do is pull off just a little bit and then spread the rest of this out around the same sort of size as the template, just a little bit overhanging. Then push it down into the template, and I start with my light needle, just a couple of little tacking stabs just to hold those fibres very gently to the surface. And as you push that down in the middle, you'll see that all of this around the edge is going to come up. So I'm going to pop that straight back down into those edges, and having that little bit of extra fibre in the edges, and when we get a good sort of strong edge, we won't have any flimsy bits. So very, very lightly all the way around the template, just tucking those fibres in and just starting to flatten it down. Very, very light. This extra bit that we pulled off is going to have a little feel about in my template, and I've got a thin spot right there. So I'm going to take a bit of this, frizzy edges, put the bulk of it down in that thin spot, and then go all over. And obviously the idea is to create a nice even spread of fibres in the template. Then I'm just going to work all over. And again, still very, very light stabs. The flat mat is great for this because it really does, you feel the density when you hit with your needle. So, you know, you don't, if you want to do a driving action, you've got to really mean it. But it's great for the templates because it stops your needle so you're not driving out the other side. So that's a light going over. So I'm just going to tickle it off. You can see there are a few attachment fibres right down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to tickle it off the mat, put it back into the template and go over it again. And once you've gone over it, I'm just going to check again that I've got no distinctive thin spots, and that's fine, so I'm going to put that to one side. The weights and measures are a really good guide, but it's not set in stone. If you need to use a pinch more or a pinch less. Now I'm not going to be ironing these petals, because with the succulents you want the thickness of the petal to be retained. So I've gone all over that again. I'm going to take it off. And there, that's where we're at the moment. I think that little bit there is just a bit thin. So I'm going to grab half of this and put it right down in that spot there. There. And that's that one filled. Now what I would do is just work over it. I'm keeping this side face down. I'm not turning it over yet. As you will hear me say in many of my videos, I tend to find that the surface or the face of the leaf or petal or your project that faces the mat tends to come out with a nicer surface. So as much as possible I stay on one side, and then the side that's facing the mat will be the side that faces out of the project, so it's the side you'll see. So I'm just working all over this, and what I'm doing for this, let me zoom the camera in a little bit. I realise that this is a dark fibre, but I'm using what I call a compression technique, which is tiny little stabs all over, and you're moving over in really small increments, and you'll just see that it really does condense those fibres and make them quite makes the whole thing quite firm. So I would do that all over. I think we're just about there. And taking it off again. And you can see that that's where we're at the moment. For speed and efficiency, I'm just going to bring in my multi-punch, and as always I apologise for the clattering that this makes. I'm not going too hard, I'm just bouncing through using just the tips of the needles, and this is going to spread this out quite a bit. And using a multi-punch is perfectly fine on the flat matte surface. I'm going to put that back into the template, and I don't know if you can see too well, but there's because it's flattened out and it's spread out, when you put it back in you get that little sort of scooch of fibres up around the edges again. And with a very straight needle I'm just going to go all the way around those edges, and again put that little bit of extra fibre back into those edges. And there we have it. There's our succulent leaf using the rose template petal. As I said before, I'm not ironing these, but I am gonna just give it a little bit of a shave right around the edge and take off the really sort of wild bits. Just neaten it up. So there we go. And that's the larger of the two petals done. The process for the smaller petal or leaf is exactly the same. This is 0.2 grams. And I will blast through this as quickly as I can. I'm just going to pull off that little bit. I'm going to spread my fibres out so they're about the size of the template. Stuff them in the middle a little bit. Just lightly tack that down. And then run round those edges. So all over. Very, very lightly. I'm going to add in the little bit extra that we pulled off. I don't have any glaring thin spots. I'm just going to cover that over the template evenly. Get those fibres all down in. And then again, I'm just using that compression technique, lots of tiny little stabs in and around the same place, and then just work over. And then tickle it off. I'm going to grab my multi-punch again. Again, we're not flattening it out too much because we want that chunk of leaf shape back in the template. And I've pretty much done all of this with my 40 spiral with my light needle. All the way over. There we go. And that's the small leaf shape done as well. Give it a little bit of a trim. I would probably spend maybe just a minute more on the felting, so it's really nice and firm. But for the speed of this tutorial, you can, of course, take your time with it a little bit more than I am. But I will stop in just a second. There. Okay, so we've got this one and this one, and what I'm going to make is 10 of these larger ones, and I don't know, maybe 6 of these. And what I've also made, I don't know if I will need it or not, possibly, is I've made the Calyx from the set as well. And if you have a look at the first video in the set of 3 succulents, you'll see that I make one of these in that video as well. So I'm not going to repeat that process here. Just refer back to the part 1 of the 3 succulents, which is the one with the ivy leaf. And I believe I make one of these in that video there. So I'm going to finish making all of my parts, and then we're going to come back and do the assembly. So in complete contradiction, I did actually just go and check out the video just to make sure that this was on there, and I don't think it is. So I'm going to quickly make one for you here. This is all part of the same template set. These 3 templates form the single rose set. So this is the Calyx, 0.5 grams again. And you can weigh this or you can eyeball it. It's entirely up to you. But I am weighing out about 0.8. and this is just going to keep it a little bit even as I go through and make all of these little parts. And I'm breaking this off into 5 points, so about 0.8 per point, and then I'll probably add in a little bit more of a pinch in the middle. So there we go, and then I've got that little bit left, which I'm going to pop to one side. And for this, let me put my pieces over here out of the way. So to do these points, the way that I do it is just flatten out the fibres a little bit, fold them over, and that rolled edge goes up into the tip, and then very lightly just tack that down. And you want this fluffy bit in the middle, because that's what we're going to use to join all of the points together. So get that held down in place. Turn it for the next one. Just pull out the fibres a little bit, fold them over, rolled edge up into the point, and then just tack them down. And repeat that process 3 more times. Fold, rolled edge into the tip, and then tack it down ever so lightly. Nearly there. I do apologise for the project going wandering as I'm turning it. Final bit. So fold it over, rolled edge up into the tip. And then stabbing around in the middle a little. Let me orientate my mat back now, and just lightly going over it again and joining those fibres in the middle, and then work over your tips and your points, going around all your edges. Like so. Moment of truth. Tickle it off. Now it's mostly holding its shape. And then back into the template. So what I do is I just use the needle to, I'll just push it back in. And then we're going to use that compression technique. Really start compacting down those fibres. That first pass was just getting everything joined together. I've still got this little bit left, but I might not need it. Okay. That's looking good. Lift, tickle. Bringing in my multi-punch now. And if you wanted your middle part, I don't even know if I'm going to be using this yet. I suspect I will, but if you wanted these to be a little rounder rather than pointier, then at this point you could just work on it outside of the template. I'm going to have mine a bit pointy, so I'm going to pop this back in, just lightly lay down those fibres back into their points, and then that compression technique again all over. And there we go. Again, I would spend a few more minutes, or a minute or two. I'm just going to turn this one over very quickly and just go back the other way, just because of those points. So there we go. I would go around now and just trim this up, and then that's all ready for our third succulent. So I will have made 10 of those. I'm going to make 6 of those. I've got 1 of those, and next I'm going to fill the pot and give that sort of faux earth look, and then we're going to start the assembly of all of the pieces. What I'm going to do here is just show you how I fill my little pot, and there's no weights and measures to this because obviously you won't be using the same pot I am, but this is our core wall, and what I'm going to do is just create a bit of a shape by stuffing the core wall into the pot until I've got something that is, this is quite loose at the moment, but what we're looking to get in here is just a block of core wall that is quite firmly felted, because we're going to be attaching various leaves and things to this. One option that you've also got, if you have some old foam mat, you can cut a piece in the bottom and sort of put a little bit of core on the top of that. We're then going to be using some brown fibres on the very top to simulate sort of dirt and earth. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to start by felting this bit into some kind of rough shape. The first thing I'm going to do is roll it, because we can always add on more. I'm just going to start with my single needle, and this one is my 36 star. I'm just going to start by creating that sort of initial roll. You want to roll this quite tightly, so we want a good firm core in the bottom of the pot. And this doesn't have to look pretty at all. But we just want to rough something out that is around the same sort of size as the pot. So I'm just going to squish this down and go very carefully with my multi-tool. And this one is a great one. All the needles are in a line. So I'm just going to start creating my blob shape. And see, it's getting in there. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'll probably speed this bit up, but I'm just going to work until I've got a good firm base. And then I'm going to do the same for however many pots you've got or you're doing. So that's the easiest way to do it if you've got just coral wool. Like I said, if you've got some old foam, which is probably how I'm going to fill my pots, putting some of this 2-inch foam in the bottom will provide a good sturdy base. But I wanted to show you how to do this part just with coral wool. So this is a bit squishier down here. It's a bit firmer on top. I'm just going to go over this a little bit more. As I said, you want to give yourself a good base to start attaching your leaves. So this is reasonably firmly felted on top, a bit squishier underneath. I think that will do it for my purposes. There. So that now fits nicely in my pot. And as you can see, I've got a good enough gap at the top, probably somewhere between 10 and 20 mil, like so. So I will do this for my other pots. You've then got the option, you can glue this in now. You can not glue it in at all. You can make the whole thing and glue it in afterwards. There's no kind of right or wrong way of doing this. It depends whether you want it permanently in the pot. What I'm going to do is I will get some brown and then sort of cover this area, and you'd want to do that before you were gluing in, because you don't want to be trying to attach sort of everything in the pot. But there you have your sort of core base, and you can do this with obviously whatever wool you want. This is the core wool that we sell on the website, so it really does felt nice and firmly. So you're going to do that for your pot. I'm going to grab probably some dark brown from our range, and then put a nice little layer over the top. Here's my dark brown in my fluff tube. So you just want a thin bit, but you don't want any of this white showing through, so what I can do is take this out, put some down And this doesn't need to be firmly felted. This can be quite loose. Just sort of tacking it down to that top. Fill in any bits. It's just getting that covering. There, and you know, don't worry if it's a little bit thin in places. It just gives some sort of colour difference. Right, let's see how that's looking. Pretty good. So there we go. That's our simulated dirt in the pot. And now we're all ready for potting our plant. Here are all my parts finished and ready to go. I have my pot of fake earth, and we start with the bigger petals. I'm going to scooch those out the way. I've got my light needle, because what we're going to do to start with is just lightly place. So what I am going to do is run these around with a slight gap. Let's see that one. And just have them overhanging a little bit. And that's the arrangement that I'm going to go with for the first layer, and then the second layer I'm going to lay down in the gaps like that. So light needle, because what we're going to do initially is just tack these in place. Right on that point, just a few stabs. Because that way, if we want to change them or overlap them, we've not felted it hard. Like so. And as we start to felt in the middle here, this will start creating shapes in the petals as well, and then we'll go and rearrange. So I'm just going to lay down that second layer. And we want them, we want them in the gaps. So they're going to stick out about the same circumference as the layer below. So we can fit them in like that. So back in with the light needle, right on those tips. There, and you can already see that it's starting to shape itself. So I quite like those two layers. So I'm going to come in with my 38 spiral, so slightly more aggressive. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a firmer felt. Just go in between, catch that one underneath. So I'm going in between these two petals and catching that one underneath, and then coming up and felting the one on top. And this is a, you know, a driving, so I am using most of the needle, but I'm also keeping hold of the petal because you don't want the petal to, you know, migrate too much. So there's our first 2 layers down. You can see getting some real nice shape to that. So now I'm going to come in and do exactly the same thing with these smaller petals. I'm going to put those in the gaps again. So I'm actually going to need 5, not 6. But that's okay, spares are good. So those are going to go in there like that. And I'm going to come straight in with my thicker needle because this is where they are going to go. And I am holding and felting down. Let's see if I can get a better angle. So I'm holding this, felting those down. Holding the tip and felting down. And I'm only really sort of catching the first sort of 5 mil of the bottom of these. There, last one. Like so. Give it a little bit of a scrumple. See what happens to your petals. You know, you can pinch and poke. Felt's very forgiving. Yeah, I quite like that. There's a bit of craziness going on. And then finally, I'm going to put that down in the middle. But I have a feeling that if I do that, it might get lost in the middle a bit. We'll see. I'm just going to use my light needle to begin with. So I don't want this middle to be sunk down in too much. Now that's looking good. There. You can see that just really finishes off the centre. Give it a little bit of a scrumple and an arrangement. And there you've got your third 3 of 3 succulents, even though one of them isn't a succulent. There. So a little bit sort of wavy. Good arrangement of petals there. Happy with that. I'm going to leave it alone. Once you're done, you're happy with it. There's the other plant number 2, plant number 1. Let me just adjust a camera and get a better view. So there we go, the 3 final adjustment. There we go, the 3 little potted succulents. We've got the ivy leaf, which also used the rose calyx in the centre. That was part 1. We've got this sort of spider plant using the snowdrop leaf for the part 2. And the third and final part is the rose template set that makes this third and final succulent. So we've used leaf green, we've used off-white and leaf green in that one, and this one is evergreen. So there you have it. There is your little trio of succulents. Do hop on to our Facebook group. We've got lots of fun and chatter going on over there. That's www.facebook.com/groups/mumsmakery. We'd love to see you over there and share your projects and ideas with us. Thank you very much for spending your time with me today. I do hope you will subscribe to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button followed by the bell icon, and that will tell you when I upload new videos. I hope you have enjoyed the 3-part little succulent set, and I wish you all a very crafty day.